I want to give you my record prediction for Michigan entering 2025. The Wolverines in 2024 went 8-5. It was a failure of a season that was only partially redeemed by wins over Ohio State and Alabama to end the year, and a near upset over Indiana, but 8-5, 5-4 in Big Ten play, tied for 7th in the Big Ten. They won the ReliaQuest Bowl. They won the Ohio State and Alabama game by a combined 9 points, and they lost to Indiana by 5 points. So in those 3 big games they had, not counting Northwestern, they won by about an average of 1 point per game. Close wins, close losses, and then a blowout loss to Oregon and a blowout loss to Texas. That was Michigan in 2024. And with Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart, Will Johnson, even though he didn't play for much of the year, and Colston Loveland leaving, you really begin to wonder what Michigan's going to be in 2025 to a certain degree. Well, I will tell you what they're going to be in 2025. I think that Michigan is still going to be a strong defensive team. I think that their talent roster is still closer to the top of the Big Ten than at the bottom. I think their defensive line will regress, but at the same time, it won't regress by as much as people think. They've recruited well there. Even more so, they've developed well there. I think Michigan's best position coach, Lou Esposito, is on the defensive line, and he has some assistants helping him out there. And I think Wink Martindale, kind of a prove-it year for whether he's going to be elite or not, and whether last year's late season improvements were a mirage or legitimate. But I think right now he's certainly a top 15 defensive coordinator, top 20 at the worst, top 10 at the best, could prove himself to be in that top 5 conversation at the end of the year. I lean positive for the Wolverines at quarterback, running back, the interior of the O-line, though tackle is a worry, the defensive front, and special teams. I think that tackle, especially wide receiver, and their staff are either negative in general or negative in terms of what Michigan should be fielding at those positions. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you, and all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership, or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. I love Bryce Underwood this year. I think that Underwood is going to be a really good quarterback at the end of the year. Doesn't mean he won't start off a little slow. He's a true freshman, and the tackle situation isn't perfect. But I like him. I'm going to list players that are on my all-Big Ten team. Got Justice Haynes and even Jordan Marshall at running back there. Greg Crippen at center. My all-Big Ten teams, for context, are massive, so there will be a lot more players per each team just in general. Not that one team is disproportionately dominating them. Giovanni El-Hadi and Nathan Afabi at guard. I have Andrew Sprague at tackle on one of my lower teams in the Big Ten. Donovan McCulley's the only wide receiver, but he's on one of the lower teams, and you should have better than that if you're Michigan. Outside of him, there's a lot of questions at wide receiver. I have Marlon Klein at tight end. I have Rayshawn Benny, Trey Pierce, Damon Payne Jr., Ike Owuna, and Trey Williams at defensive tackle. Michigan's defensive tackle room is still loaded, just doesn't have the same upside. I have Derek Moore, TJ Guy, and Cameron Brandt at edge for my all-Big Ten teams. Ernest Hausmann, Jimmy Rolder, and Jaishawn Barham. TJ Metcalf, Brandon Hillman, and Rod Moore, asterisk with Rod Moore if he's healthy. If not, then he's not on here. And then Jyaire Hill as the only corner. There's some questions at corner for Michigan opposite of Hill, but I think Hill's pretty good. I look at this schedule for Michigan. Plus 210 to reach the playoffs, over-under win total of 9.5. Juice to the under for now, and their odds to win the Big Ten are plus 1,100. New Mexico's their opener in week 1. They need that because traveling at Oklahoma in week 2 is going to be a headache. Oklahoma's defense is loaded. Offense has some potential. I think Michigan and Oklahoma, to a certain degree, are the Spider-Man meme at this point, but Oklahoma has a staff with a better history entering season 4 to Michigan entering season 2. And they have a more experienced QB, and it's a night game at home. Week 3, Michigan plays Central Michigan at home. They travel to Nebraska in week 4. For weeks 3 and 4, Sherrone Moore will be suspended by Michigan, and I'm expecting additional suspensions to be added probably for week 1 and week 2 for Michigan. So I imagine for much of September, Sherrone Moore won't be on the sidelines. Week 5, they get a bye. Wisconsin, they host week 6. They play at USC week 7. They host Washington week 8. Travel to Michigan State week 9. Host Purdue in week 10. They get a bye week 11. They play Northwestern week 12. Travel to Maryland week 13. And Northwestern is a neutral site at Wrigley Field. Then they end the year week 14 hosting the Ohio State Buckeyes. Looking at that schedule, I think to myself there's a whole lot of opportunity there. A huge opportunity for Michigan to go 12-0 and for Michigan to go 6-6. And Sherrone Moore gets fired and the whole program falls apart. It ends in a blowout loss with Ohio State and kind of begins the season with losses to Oklahoma and for the conference season against Nebraska with several losses in between. They could go 12-0. They could go 6-6. I think that realistically it's anywhere between 7-5 and 11-1. I could see 6-6 or 12-0, but only if almost everything, if not everything, goes right or wrong for the team. It's the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. If you factor in Oklahoma, I don't know if it's the easiest overall schedule for Big Ten teams, but only looking at Big Ten teams and then only looking at those Big Ten teams' Big Ten conference schedules, it's the easiest. Their toughest games are at Oklahoma, at USC, and Ohio State. And one of those is out of conference. The other's at home against a team that Michigan has a mental and matchup advantage against. They return 65% of their production, which is 24th, and are 10th in preseason SP+, with a 21.5 power rating, meaning Bill Connolly views them as about 21.5 points better than the average college football team in his S&P Plus ratings. I am picking Michigan to go 10-2 regular season, factoring all of this in. I am kind of going with chalk when it comes to Bill Connolly's rankings for Michigan, viewing the returning production, Michigan's recent history, more so as it relates to the fact they still have a lot of older players who are on Jim Harbaugh's rosters, and that Bryce Underwood should be a really good quarterback based on his high school profile, and the fact that honestly, he enters a overall better supporting cast than I think Lagway did last year or than Raiola did with Nebraska last year. Maybe not much better, but I think slightly better. And I think that can make a difference, especially with a schedule that's much easier than Florida's was last year and maybe a tad bit easier than Nebraska's, depending on how the schedule pans out. 10-2, 8-1 in conference, the win over Ohio State that I think is likely to happen will send Michigan to Indianapolis, where they will lose to a Big Ten championship caliber team, national championship caliber team in Penn State. They'll be a CFP participant. I don't think that this Michigan team is built to go beyond the first round. Maybe they could, but even if Michigan does go undefeated, I don't see them escaping the quarterfinals. They will play a team in Texas or in Penn State who is built to do everything that Michigan does and more, and do it better in every way. I made a Twitter post about this the other day. Penn State's better than Michigan at literally every position, and they are very willing and able to play the same style of football. It's practically the same thing with Texas. And as for other teams, not to the same degree as those two, but Michigan would have to face one of those two eventually, and it's not like the Ohio State game's a given. I think it's a likely win, but it is far from a given because Ohio State's going to be better than Michigan. So tied for second in the Big Ten with a few other teams is what I think Michigan will finish as. 10-2, 8-1. It'll be one of those records where a team that is not top 2 in power ratings goes to the championship game because they get the schedule draw that's good. That'll be Michigan. They will get in Indy over other teams that I think are better than them, hit a wall against Penn State, and probably hit a wall in the playoffs. But this team, roster-wise, should be top 15, and if the coaching staff performs better than it did overall last year, it should be a top 10 team. Looking at just some overall predictions for Michigan I want to share with you. I think that Michigan, prediction number 1, this is mild. We're going from a mild to hellfire scale, kind of like a Scoville scale. Got a mild prediction, a medium prediction, a hot prediction, a scorching prediction, and a hellfire one. The mild prediction is that Michigan is a better quality team in 2025 than 2024. I kind of think that's almost redundant. Unless a lot goes wrong for Michigan, and by a lot, I mean a lot, that will be the case, because quarterback was just a disaster. The O-line profiles is better this year than last year. Receiver can't get worse than it was last year. And I think secondary and linebacker, based on returning production, will get better. But D-line will get worse. There are parts of Michigan that will get worse. Tight end will get way worse. But overall, they should be better. Medium prediction is that Michigan goes over its preseason win total and makes the college football playoff. It's a medium prediction because they're at plus odds to go to the playoffs and plus odds to go over their win total, but they only need one more win than the Vegas guesstimate, and a very educated guesstimate, that Michigan's going to go 9-3. A 10-2 Michigan's a lock for the college football playoffs. So that's a medium one. A hot prediction is that Michigan's wide receiver core is worse than Penn State's was last year against Notre Dame. That is essentially me putting my chips in the table and saying Michigan's wide receiver room won't get better at all. I think the only way it does is if development comes into play, and I haven't seen that a lot with Michigan's receivers in recent memory, or I think if Andrew Marsh breaks out as a freshman, then I would be proven wrong there. The scorching prediction is that Sherrone Moore coaches Michigan to the Big Ten title game with 8 Big Ten wins. That is scorching. And the reason it's scorching is because I feel like Michigan is really, as Vegas would say, kind of that 9-3, 7-2 Big Ten team. You know, you probably lose to Oklahoma, given how early it is. And then between USC, Ohio State, Michigan State, Nebraska, you probably drop 2 of those games. But I look at this schedule, and outside of Oklahoma, USC, and Ohio State, no one on here is going to be better than Michigan. Doesn't mean they can't beat Michigan, but Michigan's going to be significantly better than every team on here when you factor in home field advantage than everyone except Ohio State, USC, and Oklahoma. And they get Ohio State at home, and Oklahoma and USC are not top 10 power-rated teams. At least they probably won't be at the time Michigan plays them. So I think Michigan takes advantage of the schedule a little bit. And then prediction number 5, which is a hellfire one. I personally don't think it's quite this high, but the odds of this happening are pretty low. So I listed as a hellfire one. I think Bryce Underwood is a top 10 level quarterback by the final game of Michigan season. So whether that's Ohio State and they get, the postseason ban everyone's talking about, that's the final game. He'll be a top 10 level QB then. Whether that is the playoff game, like when Michigan exits the field, he will be a top 10 level quarterback. Not for the entire season, not for that, but in an individual game performance or maybe a final series of games, he will be a top 10 level quarterback exiting 2025 and entering 2026. So, Michigan, I think they're going to go 10-3 regular season, including championship week, 8-1 in conference, tied for second in the Big Ten. They'll be the Big Ten runner-ups. And with 3 losses, I would intuitively say they're going to get a road game in the first round of the college football playoff. Probably lose that, but I haven't gotten that far yet. The college football playoff predictions will be released soon, so make sure to stay tuned on that front. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, joined the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.